I resisted and resisted for many years, and I finally caved in. Just so you know, when the right style, color, condition, and price shows up, I cave in like 200% of the time. We will start with an unboxing of a wishlist item. I will tell you why I chose this style, then you can decide for yourself if you want to add one of these to your collection or not. Would I buy another? And there'll be mod shots at the end. I bought this from the original owner, so this came with everything. The original box, the dust bag, the tag, and the card, which is a first for me. So before we get started, remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment, and share. Alright, are you ready? Leave me a comment, and tell me what you think this is. So this came in a white dust bag, so it means it's a classic. This is the jumbo and the caviar with the silver hardware, and guess what? It's a single flap. And you can tell that from two grommets next to each other. And because it's a single flap, you only see one flap over here. And when you open it up, it doesn't have the second flap, and it doesn't have the extra pocket in the front. And because it only has the one flap, you could actually fit a lot more inside. When I unboxed this, my hands were shaking and I was so excited there was no way for me to set up a tripod and try to film a real unboxing. I could hardly sit still to open this. I almost dropped this bag on the floor. That is how insanely excited I was. This bag came with the original tag, which says 10C for cruise, which means it came out in November of 2009. Then this got discontinued and it got replaced with a double flap in 2010 or 2011. This, the single flap, hasn't been made since. So when I saw this one in pristine condition, I had to have it. I bought this from Tradesy, which got bought out by Vestiaire Collective. I'll be filming a video about Vestiaire Collective, so stay tuned for that. I bought this as soon as it was listed. The seller was super responsive. I bought this on Thursday, and she said she'll ship it on Monday. And that was like the longest weekend ever, because I had a different seller for the Dior saddlebag. And yes, I bought that like 3 times, and it was all a fail. That seller said the same thing. I'll ship it in a few days. Then, on the day she was supposed to ship, she canceled the Dior sale. That was pretty gut-wrenching. So all weekend, I was just wondering if this would ship or not. And she did ship it on Monday. So the question is, why a single flap jumbo? Well, the best time to buy a large bag is when the small bags are still trending. I think the larger bag trend has started, but it hasn't caught fire yet. Fashion trends are cyclical, which means they come back. So this jumbo was hot in 2010, and all the celebs were rocking their jumbo caviar bag then. A pattern I see for both the Dior saddle and the Fendi baguette is they came back, and they came back strong, and it took about 20 years. The baguette that came out in 1997 came back in 2019, so that took 22 years. The saddlebag that came out in 2000, that came back in 2018, so that took 18 years. So, I predict, and again this is for fun, the jumbo will be back on trend around 2029. I know right now the jumbo size may feel and look a bit irrelevant, but as I was doing my research and looking back at the photos from 2010, I totally get why this was the it bag back then. Here, you see Lauren Conrad rocking her black single flap jumbo. And who remembers the Kitson back in 2010? I've actually been to that store, and that was a magnet for like Lindsay Lohan, Paris Hilton. Do you guys remember that era? And here we have Mary-Kay Olsen in the red single flap jumbo with the silver hardware. You know what's interesting about Mary-Kay Olsen's photos? She always has this light gray scarf wrapped on the back of the jumbo. And I think she did this to prevent the bag from directly rubbing on her clothes, such as her black coats and jackets. How clever is that? So yeah, I think I'll try that tip. Touching this original tag, I feel like I went back on a time machine, back to 2009. What was I up to in 2009? Oh yeah, I was in the middle of planning my wedding. I got married in October of 2010, and 2 weeks before that, I had a strong gut feeling that I'm making a mistake. I ignored it, and 10 months later, I filed for divorce. So yeah, I should have listened to my gut instinct. If I realized that before 6 months, I could have had the entire thing annulled. You live and you learn. And I paid for half the wedding, so I paid $12,000 out of my own pocket. This bag was about $3,000 in 2009. I so wish that I bought 4 of these than go through my own wedding. Oh well. And if you bought this bag for $3,000 back then, it's an investment bag. Because if you sell it today, you can make a profit. Well, if yours isn't trashed, you can easily sell this caviar version for $5,000, if not more. As a Chanel collector, I didn't have any jumbo classics in my collection. I have 2 friends who have it in the black caviar with the silver hardware. One of my friends has it in the double flap, and the other has it in the single flap. And both of my friends, they don't use the bag at all. So I was on the fence about this bag. The double flap in the caviar, which I featured in one of my videos, and I'll link it up right here just in case you haven't seen it, is way too heavy for me. I would never reach for that bag, so the only option for me was the single flap in the caviar. And single flap in the caviar in pristine condition is very hard to come by. You guys all know that I shop at The RealReal, right? I'm at the store about twice a month, and I saw this exact bag and I tried it on. I have photos that I took of myself in April of 2022. I take photos because that helps me be more objective. Remember, my judgment gets really fuzzy around Chanel at the store. I want to buy it all. So I take a photo, go home, look at it, really think about it, so that I don't make an impulsive decision. I sent the photo to my friends and I asked for a sanity check. And all 3 of my friends said, yeah, the yellow jumbo looks really good on you. So this bag is a single flap, but The RealReal listed it as a double flap, which means the price was way higher. The RealReal listed this for $7,000, which was way too high for a single flap. Single flaps go for about $5,500 to $6,000. So yeah, there was no way I was going to pay $7,000 for a single flap. And that bag was not even listed in pristine condition. So today, the jumbo flap is at $9,500. I paid $5,000 for this bag, and I think that's a steal. So I didn't buy this from The RealReal thinking one day, when a pristine bag comes out, I will get it. And that day has come. This feels like a brand new bag. And of course, because this is not from the Chanel store, I got it authenticated, and here's the certificate. One more thing to note here, when I tried this on The RealReal, I made a mental note that this bag is a Series 13. And when I saw this listing on Tradesy, it was also a Series 13, so I know I finally found my bag. I added to cart and checked out right away. This bag will be in my forever collection. I recently saw some YouTubers sell their jumbos, and their reason was that they don't reach for it. It's too bulky or it's too heavy. My advice on the jumbo is please go try this on at the store, so you can make an informed decision. The question is, would I buy another jumbo? And the answer is absolutely. Coco, my inner Chanel handbag addict, says 1 jumbo is fantastic and 2 is double the fun. So the next question is, which one? Okay, so I'm a super picky Chanel collector. So let's quickly go over the evolution of the single flap jumbo. In the 90s, the jumbos looked like this, with the huge CCs. This is like every collector's dream bag. It is definitely one of mine, and 3 years ago, I saw this for $6,000, but I didn't buy it because it had cornerware. Well, now 3 years later, this is like $12,000. So yeah, she's the one that got away. In the 90s, it was all about access and being over the top. In the 2000s, the same bag came out with the smaller CCs. This is more modest, but this one is not for me. And the flap on this is still straight and in the middle, just like the one in the 90s. Then, in 2008, the flap got longer and not straight. And I don't know why they did that. The CC is still 24K though. Then, in 2009, the CC changed again for the 4th time to what we know now. And of course, no more 24 karat gold. Let's do a quick fun movie fact. The Jumbo was even featured in the Spencer movie with Kristen Stewart. And Kristen, she's actually a Chanel brand ambassador. But the funny thing is, Princess Diana was around in the 90s, and the Jumbo that Kristen Stewart was rocking in the movie didn't exist back in the 90s. In the 90s, remember, the Jumbos had the giant CCs. So yeah, movie folks, please fact check your Chanel bags before putting it in the film. And you're welcome. So back to what I was saying. So in my mind, there's 4 choices. There's the single flap in the caviar like that one, which obviously is my first choice. And number 2 is the single flap in the lambskin, which I'm not interested at all. The single flap is going to lose the structure more easily than the double flap, so I definitely don't want that in lambskin. Because in my opinion, the lambskin version is going to lose structure way easier than the caviar. Number 3 is double flap in the caviar, and that is too heavy and too clunky. I will never buy the double flap in the caviar. Number 4 is the double flap in the lambskin. So this one is interesting. So yesterday, guess what I saw on display? It was the double flap in the lambskin. So out of curiosity, I was kind of handling the bag, and it was a Series 14. So that means it was made in around 2010. The lambskin was buttery soft. But what was interesting is because it's a double flap, even though it's lambskin, it actually retained the structure. Because it's the older lambskin, the double flap wasn't as stiff as the caviar version, so I was actually surprised. As a second choice, if I cannot find another single flap caviar in pristine condition, in a pop of color, not black, I personally don't find the black jumbo exciting. And I understand that's controversial, but it just doesn't excite me. So I would only buy the jumbo in a pop of color. My second choice would be the double flap in the lambskin, but it would have to be the old lambskin, so around 2009, 2010, 2011. Alright, let's do some mod shots. If you want to wear a black top, you could throw a white cardigan on top of this. So that way, your bag won't get any color transfer. I would mostly wear it like this. I'll put the bag behind it because I don't want to rest the weight of my arm on the bag. In time, that will cause some issues. And I won't be squishing the bag like this. Because in time, that'll make the top here, right here, pointy. And we don't want that. I personally will not wear this back crossbody, it's just too long for me. So what do you think? Will you get one? Are you on team single flap or double flap? Leave me a comment. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.